Well, hello, welcome again to a reading through of the Homeric Hymn to Apollo, and I got up to line 207. Now, lines 207 to 215 are generally regarded as fairly confusing and possibly corrupt. They make obscure references to various myths regarding love affairs and rivals of Apollo, and begins with a rhetorical question here. Suppose tar se humnes o pantos eu non ionta. So how then will I hymn you, you who being so completely well hymned, literally? Good question to ask Apollo. And then the poet then gives a number of alternatives. We get AA, we have A, and A down here. We have a number of alternatives that are given. The first section of it are all about various co-suitors that Apollo had. The girl in question is not named, but it appears to have been the maiden Coronis, who was usually the daughter of Phlegias and not Adzas, as we get in here. So it's slightly obscure here. So it's the basic question is, how will I hymn you? Either will I, well, it's almost a sort of subjunctive here. May I sing of you in your, well, perhaps wooings, in your wooings and in your love affairs. How you came to, from Chio, the daughter of Adzas. As I mentioned, she's normally, the girl in question is Coronis. She's not mentioned, but she's normally the daughter of someone else. And then we have these hammer plus dative here, meaning along with, in other words, as a rival suitor. So we could translate this perhaps hammer as a rival to Iscus, the ota has alighted here, the son of Elatus, who is godlike. So a rival suitor to godlike Iscus, the son of Elatus, and this fellow is Hippo. He's either good with horses or perhaps has beautiful horses. And we get another alternative suitor, or in rivalry with Phorbas of Triops by race. The genos is almost a sort of an internal accusative here, perhaps sprung from Triops, or in rivalry with Erythius. This guy is not otherwise known. Phorbas here is a rival, but in later stories he is in fact one of Apollo's many lovers himself, or with Leucippus and the wife of Leucippus. Now Pedzos here has the sense of you on foot. This line, by the way, may be corrupt. It's a little bit odd here. Pedzos, you on foot, but they on horses. So the sense is that you competing perhaps in a foot race, and he competing with you with his horses. Umain Triopos in Elepen. So, nor indeed did he fall short of Triops. Again, this line may be corrupt here. Now again, it's after this general question, how will I hymn you? And so he says, or will I hymn you as the one seeking top proton first of all, so top proton you take together as adverbial, the one who was first of all, seeking first of all a cresterion, an oracle for mortals. Kata, I think, goes with the ebase. You descended to the earth, and then a vocative, far-shooting Apollo. So it's all predicated, the question's predicated on this, how will I sing of you? Shall I sing of you as the one who, at first seeking an oracle for mortals, descended to the earth, O far-shooting Apollo. Priamel proton. So firstly, Cat Elthes, you came down from Olympus to Pieria. Pieria is the area just north of Mount Olympus in northern Greece, and it's associated with Apollo and the Muses. These lines here from 216 to 293 follow Apollo's journey from Olympus through northern Greece to Delphi. And there's a very good map in Richardson's commentary on this, which will show you all the different places. Or the paristikes from Paristaiko, it's to go past, to go beside, to go past. So did you? So you did all this, and you went past sandy Lectos. Lectos is unknown, and the Ionians, and through the Periboians. The Ionians and the Periboi are listed in the catalogue of ships. Tucker, soon you came to Iolcus. Epibino, and you set foot upon, and it's taking a genitive here, you set foot upon Conios of Euboea, which is famous for its ships, Nausicleates. You stood on the Lelantine plain. This is apparently the first mention of the Lelantine plain. Toi uk hardi thumo. Hardi from handano. We've mentioned that one before. You take out the nasal infix, the nu, you get the root had, and so this is a strong aorist from handano, to please. The tot is going with the pedion, so which was not pleasing to you, probably toi for soy, in your heart, so as to build, this is from Tycho with a chi, so as to build a temple and a woody groves, possibly plural for singular. Enthin der Euripon diabas. And another vocative here. So, O far-shooting Apollo, from there, having gone down through Euripus. Now the un for Anna, of course. So you went up to the holy green mountain. Colours in Greek are often very difficult, but I think chloros here we're meant to see it as green in the sense of luxuriant with plants and so on. So you went up to the holy Tsartheon, green mountain, and soon Ixes from Hiko with a kappa. Soon you went from it, having gone into Mykelison, so Mykelisos, and into Lekipoian, lovely word, it's got that idea of it's grass, poian, fit for a bed. So just translate grassy, but it's the idea that it's so nice and soft that you could use this grass as a bed. So into perhaps grassy bedded tumessus. And you came, or you arrived at, from Ace Africano, another form of Africnaemi. So you arrived at the seat of Thebe, which is now kata amenon. If you take the roots of this, you've got kata plus the amenon root is from henumi, to clothe. So this is really our perfect passive participle here. So clothed in forest. So you came to the seat of Thebe, clothed within forest. Uga potis, for not yet did any of mortals dwell there. It's an imperfect, so perhaps for not yet was any of mortals dwelling there in sacred Thebe. Ud arapo toti geesan, for nor then yet at that time, in fact, to get all the particles in, were there atapitoi. It's a funny word. Apparently it has the sense of it's a path with no turnings in it. In other words, a direct path, what we would simply call a proper path, rather than a kind of a goat track. Keleuthoi also simply means roads or paths. So for there was not yet then at that time, indeed, any paths nor roads. For ana, the alpha has dropped out and the nu becomes a labial nasal mu before the labial pi. So up and down the plain of Thebe, the plain which is wheat bearing. So for not yet were there any paths nor roads, up and down the wheat bearing plain of Thebe, but hule eken, this is for eken, it's an imperfect. In Attic you'd have an epsilon in here, but you often don't in the Homeric dialect for the sake of metre. So literally, forest held it. We would say it was covered in forest. O far-shooting Apollo, from there, Echius, again from Chio, you went further on, and you came to Onchestus, that glorious grove belonging to Poseidon, I think that will be. Alsos is neuter, third declension neuter. So you came, and hence the ending. So you came then to that glorious or sparkling grove Onchestus, which belongs to Poseidon. Now lines 231 to 9 are somewhat difficult. There's no agreement as to exactly what is being described here. It's very obscure. It may be a reference to the practice of divining by allowing horses to drag an empty chariot. There are lots of other interpretations of it. You need to see Richardson ad loc to see what all the different interpretations are. I'm just going to translate it as it is. So it's Entha neodmes, polos. Neodmes, you can see the neos and the deme, the dum from damnao, damnasdo, to tame. So there, a newly tamed foal, anapenee, recovers its breath, gets its breath back. Akthominos pair, this is very Homeric, where you have a participle followed by pair in kai pair in later Greek, although. So although vexed perhaps although distressed. Helcone dragging, plural for singular, beautiful chariots. So dragging a beautiful chariot. And elater, this is a noun. It's connected with the verb elauno, to drive. So this is the driver. So, and the driver, agathos pair, again pair for chi pair, although agathos, although noble, thoron is an aorist participle from throsko, to leap. And the aorist of throsko is ethoron, and the root is thor. So the driver, although being noble, having leapt to the ground, kamai, the iota here is an old locative ending, from the, well, it's literally the chariot seat, but we'd probably just say from the chariot. Homer often uses diphros in the sense of the chariot when it literally means the chariot seat, I think. And we get that Homeric genitive here. Hodon erkatai, he goes on his way. In the words, he goes off and leaves it. So just do that again quickly there. So dragging beautiful chariots, this is what this foal is doing. But the driver, although he is noble, having leapt to the ground from the chariot, he goes on his way. Literally, he goes on the road. So he just goes away, goes on his way. Hoi de teos. Now, who does the hoi refer to? Well, it appears that it must mean the horses here, I think. Teos is meanwhile, so meanwhile they, this is the horses. Kroteusi, uncontracted from krotio, to rattle. They rattle or shake. This is from kenos. It's not ekanos, it's kenos, meaning empty. And this is a neuter plural from okos, third declension neuter noun. So it'll be kaina okia. They rattle the empty chariot. It's etymologically connected with echo, to hold. They rattle the empty chariot, plural for singular, aphientes, having, well, let go of its lordship, literally, or control. It's a very rare word, this one. It's only here and once in Apollonius of Rhodes. Apollonius of Rhodes, of course, loves obscure, rare words, so it's not surprising it turns up there, but it's only here otherwise. The meaning's pretty clear. It's connected with anax, lord or rule, so here control. So in other words, they meanwhile rattling they rattle the empty chariots, having relieved of their control, of its control. In other words, they just dump the chariot there. But if, now agasi is a little tricky. This is from agnumi. So this is the verb agnumi. This here is a epic passive, third person singular. Third person singular, passive. So it's probably, because it's passive, harmato is going to be the subject, neuter plural singular verb. Agnumi, you take away the nu infix and you get the root ag. It means to break. It's the same root cognate with the word axe that we have in English. So, but if the chariots might be broken in the woody grove, then on the one hand, com eusa. Well, they, what's the subject of this? Well, it's not clear, but it must be those who are attending the rites that the whole thing is perhaps talking about. They Comio, it's like comisdo, so they attend, they look after the horses on the one hand, but clinantes, this is the idea of propping up, but the other, the tar, this will have to refer to the chariots. So they look after, they, whoever they are, they look after the horses and propping up the chariots, eosin, this is from eao, to allow, well, they just leave them be. So they attend to the horses, prop up the chariots, and just leave everything as it is. Hosgar top protist hosie geneth. For this, for thus, at first, now this is a superlative here, but it's sort of firstest, so first of all. So thus, first, take this adverbially, thus first of all, the hosie, well, it must be something like the right or the divine ordinance came to be. Again, a time without the epsilon. But they, again, these the attendants of this rite, they pray anacti to the Lord, that is to Apollo, presumably. And funny expression here, the portion of the god at that time, it's not clear what the portion of the god means, the portion of the god at that time keeps guard over Diffron the chariot, literally the chariot's seat. So it's a very odd section. This is exactly to see exactly what's happening. So just for this last bit again, for thus, first of all, this rite took place, and they pray to the Lord, and at that time the portion of the god keeps guard over the chariot. Enthen de protero et quies hecatobo Apollo. So far shooting Apollo, you went from there further on, and then so it's then afterwards kikesao. This is a aorist middle from kikano. It means to find or to come across, perhaps arrive at. So you came to Kephesus with its beautifully flowing Kephesus, who pours forth beautifully flowing water from Lilaia. Lilaia is at the northwestern foot of Mount Parnassus, which, passing through it, O far worker this time, so this is a vocative, a worker from afar, another epithet of Apollo, passing through it, and O Calia with its beautiful tower. From there you arrived in grassy Haliarton. From there you arrived in grassy Haliarton. And you went down to Telphuses. Now, Telphusa. Telphusa is a spring at the foot of Mount Helicon, inhabited by a nymph of the same name. The exact site is disputed. And that time, this land, Habe, was pleasing. That's that from Handano again. This land which was apaimon, literally without pain, without grief, perhaps perhaps peaceful might be right here. So at that time, this land was peaceful to you, so as to build, to construct a temple and woody groves. And that is the next part of the hymn to Apollo.